Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is the world premiere. Great morning, Tuscaloosa. You know what time it is, precious people. That's right. It's time for the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 FM. That's right. We are here. It is the place, you know where, that Tuscaloosa meets the world. And of course, for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit about everything from society to sports, education to economics, and most definitely from religion to relationships. And of course, as always, every morning we are here to create a safe space. That's right. A safe space to have empowering, provocative, and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? You can call in or you can chat it up with us as we learn together right here on the Culture Call. Listen, if this is your first time to the Culture Call, welcome to our community. That's right. It's not a private community. It's an all-inclusive community that you can be whoever you are and tune in to listen to us. And if you are a regular listener, welcome, family. Welcome this morning to another amazing broadcast that I am sure that is going to bless you real good, right? Shout out to Brother Jay, who leads us in every morning. He does what he does, setting the airways on blaze. I'm telling you, the man knows exactly what he's doing, and he makes my job a little easier. That's right. Shout out to him. Listen, I want to encourage each and every one of you, whether you're new or you're recurring listener to the Culture Call, to go ahead, do me a favor. That's right. I'm already asking for a favor. Here it is. I need you to go ahead and look at that app device on your phone, the App Store. Yeah. And search out Praise 93.3 FM. Yeah. There you will find an app, a nice app at that, right? I want you to go ahead and download that on your Apple or your Android device, whether on your iPad or whatever other device you may have. That's right. And there you will be able to hear me from wherever you are in the world. That's right. I know many of you are traveling today. So whether you're in Los Angeles, California, Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, and even right here in our beautiful city of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I know you are listening to me. That's right. You can hear me from wherever you are. We made it convenient for you to do that. Told you we're going global right here at Praise 93.3 FM. Also, let's just say, perchance, you have an event going on. Let's just say that you plan something to do. Here's what I need you to do. Allow me to be your marketing specialist or your PR manager, and go ahead and email me your public service announcements and events to culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com. And give me an opportunity to tell Lottie, Dottie, and everybody about what's happening at your church, your organization, your sorority, your fraternity, your concert, your music, your anniversary. It doesn't matter. That's right. Your conference. I want to tell everybody to be able to come there. Let's put some hind parts in the seats, some faces in the spaces. And you know how good you feel when you plan and you've done all that work and people literally show up. Listen, let me help you do that. Why? Because we do it better when we do it together. And of course, always, you can save this number, 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. You can definitely save that. Call me. Call into the show. That's right. And let me hear your voice. Or definitely you can hit me up on the app. Yeah, there's a chat resource on the app. You can go ahead and do that. And every break, I'm reading it. I'm trying to see what you're thinking about. If I'm doing a good job, if you're enjoying the conversation, if I'm doing well, if I'm stinking up the joint, listen, my feelings don't hurt easy. I will make it better because I want you to continue listening. That's right. We are building a culture call community. Is that all right? Good deal. Listen, so sit back and relax, grab you some coffee or tea. You know how with coffee, Maxwell House or Starbucks. That's right. Coffee, tea, herbal tea. Yeah. Whether it's chamomile, you want to start off a little smooth, or land, you've been working all night, you're trying to relax. Go ahead and get you some chamomile tea. It's good with some honey, yeah, or some stevia, yeah. Or you can get you some green tea and kick up that caffeine, a little caffeine boost, a healthy caffeine boost, get your mind out of the clouds of the fog. Yeah, I know it's 10 o'clock, but some folks' minds don't cut on till noon, right? Or you can definitely get you some alkaline water and detox this morning. That's what you do. Get all that stuff that you ate out yesterday. Detox this morning. Yeah, before you put any of those other things, go ahead and get you some water. Get down to that cellular level and tell those cells, wake up. We've got work to do on today. And let's get into the culture. Absolutely. Listen, we've been having an amazing week all week. We've been talking about being community activated and really understanding what about our mental health. Actually, a part of our community is understanding the context of those around us and how we can help them navigate through mental health challenges and issues, right? Because this is an interesting world that we live in, and we never know exactly how people are going to show up, and people will show up exactly how they are perceiving or their attitude or their particular mentality. You know, one of the things I teach in my day job, my normal job as a pastor, is I tell folks what changes in the mind changes in time. And I know for church people, I was born and raised, again, y'all know it, in the Sanctified Holiness Pentecostal Church. And, you know, one of the songs that we sang in our church was, my mind is gone. Holy Ghost came, took control, my mind is gone. And, you know, they used to sing that, and because it was all about the Spirit of God. It was all about the Spirit and, you know, being filled and all these different kinds of things. And so they didn't really pay attention to their minds, right? And as a child, I would sit there and I would look at certain people, listen to them, you know, when we had particular testimony services and all that kind of stuff, you know, or just in regular normal conversation, in choir, you know, just talking, that there was just a little something going on outside of the spiritual context, which had to do with their mental issues or their mentality or their attitude, right? That they were using, literally almost abusing the Spirit of God, because there were mental things that they did not pay attention to, were not taught to pay attention to, or simply thought that church and religion was going to help them navigate through some of the most difficult challenges on their mind. You know, one a senior lady that she literally raised me in church, amazing, was going through mental challenges. And every time she would come, we knew we were going to have a great church service, that, you know, it was going to be a shouting good time, right? We knew that. We knew that was going to happen. But in her personal life, she had experienced so much loss, you know, of loss of her children, you know, loss of her grandchildren, of spouse and, you know, mother, father, all those losses compounded, kind of disconnected her mentally from reality, right? Disconnected her from being able to establish and maintain healthy relationships. And even as she got older, it got worse. Right? Because, you know, again, that they were taught us to lose our minds. So, and let the Spirit take over. And I get that whole kind of context. And when you're raised in a religious cosmology like that, when you're raised in an environment, see, first of all, our environment starts externally. James Baldwin says that, right? He says, when a man is born, the standard of that environment is external to that man. And as they grow up in that environment, what was external or on the outside of them becomes a part of their life. They become ingratiated with the ideas, the concepts, the mentality, the mores, the values, the principles, precepts, right, of that particular environment and or community, right? So then we become the environment in which we grow up in which we are reared in, right? That, you know, birds of a feather flock together. The text says that we've got to be careful of evil communications corrupt good manners. In other words, be careful of your environment, because your environment, if you're not careful, can teach you and vicariously live inside of you to do things and to think things that are not so. In other words, if you're living in if a child is born in a traumatic environment, if a child is born in a dysfunctional environment, if a child is born in an impoverished environment where the mentality is, substandard to human living, that child, it will start on the outside. They start as what the sociologist calls tabula rasa, a blank slate. That baby comes in as a blank slate, right? In terms of their culture, in terms of their mentality, right? Sent by God, indeed, a thought from God, no doubt, but they have been born in a particular environment and their mind is a blank slate. And so that child can begin, as they grow up in that environment around those certain kind of people, that child begins to think about or begins to adopt certain behaviors and mentalities and perceptions, perspectives, and attitudes of the people that they grow up in. In other words, our environments can literally stunt our growth. And so, when you grow up, especially now, let's add this, because Alabama and most people grow up, even if they're up north, they grow up with some level of black Bible Belt mentality. They grow up with a religious, highly religious mentality, almost religious. Some people almost religious to the point of being spooky, right? Mentality. And those things begin to shape their attitudes, shape their minds, shape the way that they think, shape the way that they perceive. And they never take account of how these things affect them as they get older. When you get older, but you've lived in a certain environment, I believe that there has to be a time of detox, a time of where you begin to stop and think about, is the way that I think, is what I believe, is how I'm acting, the way I see the world, really what it is? What is my reality? Not my mom's reality, not my dad's reality, not my siblings' reality, but what is my reality, right? And, reality is a component of four things. Really, in science, it says reality is made up of three things: time, space, matter. And I get that, right? That in anything that is going to be real and concrete and manifest has to possess time, has a moment when to be, right? It has space. It has a moment where to be, and matter. It has a weight in that moment. It has substance, right? And so those are the things of reality. Your car has reality because it has time, space, and matter. You have reality because you have time, space, and matter. But that human element is different. And here's what I add. I also add from time, space, and matter, perception, right? That time, space, matter, and perception will make up your reality. Now, what are you talking about? And why are you talking about it? Because a lot of people are disconnected and disjointed from the world around them, whether that be the immediate world or the global context of the world. They don't understand really what that means and what their place in it. They're searching for purpose. They're searching for self-worth and value, right? Because they've never understood time. You are born when you are supposed to be born, right? I know we say children out of wedlock. I know we have this whole penchant of speaking things and saying stuff like, born before their time. No, you are born when you are supposed to be born. Time. Space. You are born where you're born, to the specific parents that you were born to. Now, whether you know them or not, we just talked about that, Kirk Franklin, 53 years old, is just finding out who his parents really are. He's gone through his entire life over in this point right here, beyond the midlife part, and then just finding out. He is just finding out who his dad is, right? And, of course, the whole issue is a rabbit hole situation. But yeah. I said that to say that this is not age exclusive, or you get to a certain age and you don't have to be concerned about your mentality. You don't have to be concerned about why you think a certain way and why you feel a certain way. This is something that church doesn't necessarily deal with because it's afraid to deal with it, because what we need to understand is that Jesus dealt with two things. One, right? Being healed, and 2, being whole, right? And so the church loves people, loves to talk about people being healed from sickness, healed from disease. But Jesus doesn't just stop at healing. Jesus goes on and says, be thou whole. Wait a minute. When you say whole, what do you mean? I'm talking about even the things you don't even know that was disrupted. I'm going to bring that back into completion. I'm going to perfect that, right? That yes, that you can say hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, and praise the Lord, and still be dysfunctional. You can still make bad choices. Your decision-making skills are still subpar to you having an abundant, excellent life. Right? And yeah, he'll heal you of cancer, but you can't comprehend. Yeah? He'll heal you from diabetes, but you still can't make good decisions. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He can heal you from the sickness, but doesn't mean that you gained any sanity. And so this whole idea of wholeness that he comes to bring, we've got to start thinking about that. You may be healed, but are you whole? Yeah. You may be over the last relationship, but are you whole in your heart? You may be, healed from the abusive context of your childhood. Yeah. And all of the, the bullying that you went through, all of those things. But are you whole? Does it still plague you? Has it shaped you in certain ways to respond to other human relationships? Right. And so one of the things that we're going to be talking about on the Culture Call, because I'm really serious about this, is we've got to start dealing with the mental context of people and understanding them as a whole being, not just a healed being, but a whole being, right? Because you can go through pain for so long, you can go through a situation for so long and find healing from that. But the fear of the pain, the fear that it may happen again, the fear of this being repetitive may happen again. And that is the perspective part. That you're here when you need to be here, time, right? You're at the location where you are. Yeah, Tuscaloosa, you're in Philadelphia, you're in Washington, D.C., Tallahassee, Florida, Miami, wherever you are. That's your space. But then you come into the more crucial context, the matter. What do you weigh in these spaces? Does anybody really know you're there? Right? Are you making an impact where you are? Matter? Yeah. What's your matter? And then here it is. Perception. Perception is, how do you see the world? How do you see the context of the things that have gone on around you? What is the framework of how you handle business? How you establish relationships? How you worship God? What is your understanding of that? Yeah. See, because again, as a community, as a culture, people show up how they show up. I get that. And, we are to accept everybody how they show up. But everybody, we need to understand this. Everybody does not show up whole. Everybody does not show up healed. Again, I said this on earlier this week, and I want to bring it up again. One of the key things that Kirk Franklin said, he says, I know myself broken, but I've never seen myself whole. Did y'all hear that? Culture Call. Did y'all hear that? The man said, he says, I know myself broken. Push pause. Stop. That's 53 years of brokenness. 53 years of an incomplete person. 53 years of an imperfect reality, because there is something in his perception that is off about himself, that no one sees him until he gets on the piano. He doesn't have friends. No one adores him. Nobody sees the value of his life until he gets on the keyboard. Isn't that something? That's an amazing thing that he shared in his documentary. And I was like, wow. And I started thinking about that. I really did. I started thinking about, how does that context even play out? How do we even get there? How does he navigate for 53 years? Because, yeah, he's showing up. He's able. The reason why we sing, our God is an awesome God. I mean, you name it. He has created some of the soundtrack for the 90s, the 2000s. I mean, yeah. Right. He is right up there in the pantheon on the Mount Rushmore of gospel music with James Cleveland and Shirley Caesar and Thomas Dorsey. He's right up there with them. Absolutely. And yet in his own self, in the context of who he is, he has never, by his own admission, has never known himself whole. And so when we talk about, life, when we talk about how we grow up, when we talk about this idea of establishing reality for ourselves, it's important. You can go through a sickness and be, healthy in terms of your body, but there are vestiges of that sickness in your mind. There's trauma, especially when you're dealing with a sickness like sickle cell, because this is sickle cell, awareness month, right? That I've seen people in such a crisis. I'm talking about, and that pain is excruciating. I can remember days, sitting up all night, just holding my daughter and my son really tight because the pain was unbearable, that none of the medicine that they gave them would help that pain. And that caused trauma. That they were, even when the crisis was over, it left things sore, they were afraid to walk. They were afraid to do, or because that pain had traumatized them. They had PTSD. And of course, my wife and I, we work with our children. We made sure that they got back into life and made sure that they went back to their normal life. But even people with sicknesses and diseases that they go through, they create trauma. People who've been through cancer and chemotherapy, people who have to daily go through dialysis, that's trauma. Yes, they're putting on their best face. But when they come out in the public, yeah, or you're so strong. But we have absolutely no clue about what they go through on a mental perspective. Are they whole? Are they whole? And so, yes, even our churches are filled with people who are healed, but they're struggling in the area of wholeness because nobody talks about it. We're going to praise and shout and dance, and that's going to be the panacea, the medicine for all of our ears, the prescription. And I do believe, please understand me, I've dedicated my whole life to studying this whole idea of church and all of these kinds of things. I've done all of that, and I love to do it. I love to do it, right? But here is the reality. What I have found out in the last 27 years of pastoring and the last 33 plus years, 34 now, years of going through and ministering to people is that, yeah, healing is one thing, but wholeness is another. In Isaiah, and again, y'all know I try not to turn the culture call into a pulpit. I really do. Sometimes it turns that way because I use the text. Hey, this is a gospel radio station, so we need to talk about the text every now and then, right? But Isaiah 43, here's what the Lord says. Here's what Isaiah says that God says through him. Right? He says, listen, I am the God that dealt with your enemy in Isaiah 43, around verse 15, 16. He says, I'm the one that brought you through the waters. I've quenched your enemy, the chariot and the power. I've extinguished them as a wick on a candle. I've extinguished them as tow. Right? You've got a brilliant history with me. You've got a hard history, but I've been right there. Then he says something like this. You ready? Drum roll, please. Here it is. Remember not the former thing, neither consider the thing of old. Wait a minute. Okay, that means I need you to push pause on your reality. Your history. Because your history, I'm not going to use your historical context for the new life I'm about to give you. I'm going to reshape your mind for what I'm about to do. He says, remember not the former thing, neither consider the thing of old. Here's what he said. He says, behold, I'm going to do a new thing. I'm going to totally give you a new reality, a new life. I'm going to move you past the trauma of running away from your last pursuit. Yeah, from Pharaoh, your enemy. Yeah, I'm going to give you all of that. Remember not the former thing, neither consider the things of old. Why? Because I'm going to do a new thing. And here's what he says. And now it shall spring forth, which is there's your time. It's going to happen. And then he says something very powerful. And this is what I want to, he says, shall you not know it? Can you see it? Can you not perceive what I'm doing? And he begins to deal with the context of the health of their mind to be able to perceive the opportunity, the new reality, the new experience, the new platform, the new avenue, the new door. That you can be so historical and so rustic in your mind, right, that you cannot see even the new thing that's available to you. You're so not whole in the context of your mind, or your history, your past is so much directing who you are, what you can do, what you can have, your mama them, your daddy them, your grandmama them, and you hold fast to that. Because we, as black people, we are historical people. We revere our elders. We revere our ancestors. Almost to the point of idolatry. Because we believe what they say. But here comes an opportunity. God says, let me update your mentality. Because if I let you move forward with this old mentality, you're going to miss out on the new thing. You're going to miss out on your new opportunity, the new relationship, because you have so much allegiance to your friends in kindergarten and high school and junior high and college that here it is, you're going to be 50, 40, and you're going to miss out on an opportunity to establish something new. And no, I'm not going to break your choices. In other words, I'm going to do the new thing. It's up for you to see it. It's up for you to develop your mind. It's up to you to be whole enough to be able to say, you know what? Maybe I need to rethink some things. Maybe I have another decision. Ma'am, you can't stay there in that divorce. You can't stay there in the bitterness. Robert might have been a ruthless, abusive man on every level. Right? And but that's been 10 years ago. That's been 5 years ago. That's been 20 years ago. Here now, Rufus want to love you. Here's the new thing coming out to you, and now you can't even see him because you still toggling with Robert. Sir, Sue-Ann she was a whirlwind. I'm talking about she made your life a living Hades. I get it. She-Hole Gehenna. I get it. I'm talking about, my goodness. Yeah, she was a ruthless woman. Yeah. But she's gone. Here comes Sister Mary trying to make it better. Here come God giving you a new opportunity to establish how he wanted, what she wanted you to have. And I'm not dealing with that because of one situation. No. Yeah. You're not whole. You might be healed. You might be healed from all those past situations. Yes, you lost that last job and they were terrible there. So you're not going to try again? Right? You're not going to keep living. You're not going to seek wholeness. You're not going to grab a hold and gain a capacity for the new thing. What opportunities, Culture Call, are we missing because the old thing is sabotaging the new thing? Our old mindsets are sabotaging the new possibility of a new mentality, new attitudes, and new perception, new perspective. Is it time now that you just back up and say, you know what? I need to try again. I need to give myself another chance. That I don't want to be around with anybody that's going to remind me of the harshness of my past. I already know it. I know they think they're gurus and I know they think they're doing me well. But the truth of the matter is I need to be brought into a new context of living. And we can only do that when we say, hey, yeah, it happened, and move on from healing to wholeness, where you are complete in him. That's right, where you are perfected in him. It happened, I survived, and now I'm ready to move on. Yeah, it's going to be a great day on the Culture Call all morning long. I need you to keep it right here on Praise 93.3 FM, right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Listen, get you some water, get you some tea, even a little coffee, right? And keep it right here. We got more to come. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3. That's right, your favorite place for gospel. Absolutely. And all things Jesus. Absolutely. So glad to have you guys with me on this morning. That was a major centering moment, don't you think? Yeah, I think so. I think that we covering the ground, because what I want you to do and what I want us to do as a community, whether that be just church community, the black community at large, take the message out, is that we need to move from healing to wholeness. We need to begin to understand how our attitudes and our perceptions play out into the reality of our world, right? That's what we really need to do. Listen, y'all, remember, you can hit me up on the chat anytime that you want to, or you can call in 205-752-4800. And let's talk it up. You know, in the next hour, I have my daughter. She's going to be coming on. We're going to be talking about her journey through sickle cell, and that the whole trauma growing up. She's an adult woman now, doing great for herself. But I want to talk to her because maybe there's someone else that may not be dealing with sickle cell, but like we're talking about this morning, that has had, to go through the journey of having some level of trauma, whether that be medical trauma, emotional trauma, financial trauma. Trauma is so very individual and it's so very complex. And none of us can just kind of sit back and judge and say, well, I don't know why they're going through that. Well, you're not them, And again, like I said, the only thing that my wife and I could do, well, only three things. One was, make sure that we took care of them, held them tight, and pray, and sometimes even cry with them, because again, we were helpless as parents because we had to navigate them through, from doctor visits and situations at home and, going to the hospital, sometimes staying there. That was a lot of trauma, because, that's my child, and that's her. And she's thinking and dealing with her, and he was thinking, dealing with himself, all those different kinds of things. So trauma shows up how it shows up. We all have interesting histories. Rewind, press play, pay attention. We all have particular histories that are central and individual to each other, to ourselves, right? That you and I go through, but what we go through and how we go through it is very individual and it's very complex, right? And so, no one is castigating or bringing any kind of shame because, we don't tolerate that on the culture called shame and guilt and all those condemnation. No, you don't know what I've been through. Just know that if I'm alive today, I've survived 100% of the things that have happened in my life. That's right. Now, survival is not enough. Now we've got to move into this whole idea of how do I thrive after I survive? How do I thrive after I survive? Maybe you're sitting in your cubicle listening to me on the app. Maybe you're at home. Maybe you're on the radio traveling. But the question that we want to ask right now is, how do I thrive after I survive? And here's the reality. Here's the reality that most of us have parked our cars, parked our mental vehicles at simply surviving. I got through the divorce and I got through the abuse. And I got through the chemo. I got through the dialysis. I got through the financial struggle. I got through, right? But the issue is that survival is not the period. Let me try it again. That survival is not the period of your life. That we have to collectively understand that you're surviving, or you survived the thing to gain some wisdom, some experience out of that. There was lessons that you learned, right? But now you have to take those lessons and begin to apply them to creating or recreating a new reality, a new life, a different perception, a different time, space, matter, and perspective, right? I mean, you could be right in the same place, living in the same house. I'm not talking about just things that, you can move from one side of town to the other side of town. I mean, sometimes that may be necessary, but I'm not talking about that exclusively. I mean, you can create a whole different home in the home that you've always lived in, when you understand I'm moving from survival to thriving. And each and every one of us has to learn how to thrive, right? How to begin to take the pieces of my life, to deal with the trauma of my life, to deal with all of that and move on. And not just move on drudgingly, not just moving on with a retrospect, not just moving on looking at the annals of my history, but moving on saying, you know what, I'm going to do something different. That if I survived this, if I came through this, then that means I'm supposed to be here. There is something great that I am supposed to do. I'm supposed to do something on the next level. And I'm not going to just sit here and lament what happened to me. Yes, it happened, but yes, it happened. Let's try it again. Yes, it happened. Yes, but it happened. It happened, but it's past tense. And I refuse to allow those things to shape the whole context of my life. I refuse to live in the residue of trauma. I refuse to live in the drama from the trauma. I refuse to establish new relationships based off of old information from old people. Right? I refuse to go to my new job but treat it like my old job that fired me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, hey, I have a renewed opportunity to make some more decisions, to live literally in another place in time, another place in my mind. Absolutely. That, yes, you could stay there. You could stay definitely. You could stay at the tombstone. You could stay at the cemetery. You could stay at whatever, the mausoleum. You could stay there and you could lament that person forever. It could ruin your life. You get older and older and older and older and older and never enjoy the rest of your life. Never make a decision that will better you and your children because you're still lamenting the loss of your parents, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a job, the loss of money, the loss of opportunity. You can stay right there at the funeral of regret all you want to and get older right there. And it's sad because I see it all the time. People sit right there and keep telling, well, you don't know what happened to me. You absolutely not. I don't know. I'm not going to even pretend to know. But can I also say this? You don't know what happened to me. See, you see, you don't know what happened to me. You don't know. I just choose to look at my life in a different fashion. I choose to look at my life in a different way. Yes, that my life still has to go on. That although I love the folks that have passed on, I love my mom, dad, I love Joe and Lynette, I love my sister Gwen, I love my grandparents, all those who have gone on from time to eternity. I love all of them, and they still live in my heart, in my soul. But each and every one of them would want me to continue to live the brilliant life that they reared me to live, that they encouraged me to live, right? They would want me to continue to move forward. Right? Because I still have a wife. I still have children. I still have people who need me, who depend on me. Yeah, I still have genius that I need to put in this world. I still have marks that I need to make in this world. I still got enemies to defeat. Yeah, I still got irrelevant people to ignore. Because, that's the reality of it. I still have accomplishments that I want to achieve. So I cannot stop. I cannot just go to Carolina Memorial Gardens and just sit there over the graves of my parents and over my sister and my grandpa. I can't do that. I mean, I could, but I will be living in the past. I will be stuck in time. And yes, the tears will stop. I may be healed from that moment, but I will never live in wholeness because I feel guilty moving on. I want to talk to you, ma'am. I want to talk to you, sir, who is listening to me this morning on the Culture Call saying, yes, I know how that feels. You feel guilty for moving on. That's a part of grief. That's a part of the grieving mourning process, that you really feel guilty about moving on. That's the part of grieving the relationship that you thought was going to be forever. You feel guilty moving on. I understand it. That forward movement ain't always good, right? But here it is. There's something new that God is doing for you. There's another experience of life that's being shaped for you. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Check it out. Look, open up your eyes. I'm doing something new now. Yes, that was your history, and you would not have gotten through unless I helped you get through, right? I helped you persevere. I helped you survive. Yes. But now I'm doing a new thing. Open up your eyes. It's happening right now. I want to tell those of you who are listening to me on this culture call on this beautiful morning that the new thing for you is happening now. Yes, it is. I don't care what people say. Get away from those people. That keeps reminding you, because there will always be people, if you're not careful in your life, that think that they are obligated to make you feel bad when you really should be feeling good. There are always people who think that it is their assignment in life to keep you humble when God is trying to lift you up, to keep you down, so you won't get too big for yourself. But what if God wants me to expand? What if God wants me to enlarge my territory? And you can't talk about, well, he's expanding. You can't be Jabez around a bunch of people who want you to stay small, because they're going to talk you out of every opportunity of expansion. Are you listening to me? I know you are, Culture Call. Absolutely. They're going to be talking about that. No. They're going to give you more reason to fear than to walk out on faith. Right? And your next reality is where the risk is. Uh-oh. Huh? What? Let me say that again. Your next reality is where the risk is. That who you are, manifestation, reality, it does not, who you really are, purpose, those things do not reside in safe waters. No. Sometimes you might have to launch out in the storm while it's storming. Sometimes that's how you find out exactly that you can walk on water. That's how you find out just how tough you are. That's how you find out the lessons you've learned. That's when you find out that, guess what? I can be vulnerable to a moment again. Because you're never going to establish anything unless you're vulnerable to another moment. I got to be willing to risk my stability in order to gain this next movement. I got to risk my comfort zone in order to get the new job, the new position, the promotion, the elevation. I've got to, if I'm going to be in love again, guess what? I got to put my heart in a place where it can what? Love again. And I don't need folks around me giving me all the reasons to fear. Sir, bruh, sis, ma'am, you do not need to be around people who are going to remind you of the reasons why you can't make it this time. Get away from those people. Let me say that again. I don't care who it is, your mama, your daddy, your grandmama, your grandpappy who you love, you just, Papa, I love it. But when they start speaking negative, because it's doing something to your mind, it's exacerbating, it's creating a prolonged trauma that you really don't have to go through. Absolutely. You need to be around people that can tell you every day, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. Do you go stand in the mirror? I remember when I was a child, and I was a shorty. I was just, small head, big nose. I really didn't. Oh, my goodness, y'all. I had a time growing up, Coach Call. Y'all don't hear me, church. I said I had a time growing up, and I just felt, my goodness. And my mama, I would be crying. I would come home from school and just go in the bathroom and cry. Just go in my room and cry. And she heard me one day say, hey, come in the bathroom. She was doing her hair, getting ready to do it. She said, look in that mirror. What do you see? What do you see? And from that time, I remember from the youngest point, this is one of the most powerful things I remember of my relationship with my mom, who was like my best friend, like one of my best friends. My mom, we grew up and she was like, yeah. You are my lion. That's why I named you different. That's why I named you Leonard. That's why I did you. Yeah. Cause you my special one. You're going to be great in the world. You're going to do great things. I'm like, Mama, I'm too short. Mama, look at my nose. I can breathe in the whole world. And she would laugh because she's like, you got your grandmama nose. Now, you don't know anything about my grandmama. My grandma was feisty. My grandma, she was something else. Do you hear me? Ruth A. Townsend was something else. She was large and in charge of every place that she stepped into, right? That was just her idea. And she said, you got your grandmama nose. You need to get your grandmama's attitude. I laugh at people now who say, oh, he's so conceited, he's so arrogant, he's so XYZ. No, you have absolutely no clue what it took me to gain this level of confidence in who I am, of who I am now. You can get over it. You can get over it. Yes. See, because you got to be around those people that sit you in front of the mirror and remind you you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You got to get around those people to say, wait a minute, what are you doing? Open up these blinds. Get up. Let's go out. Brush your teeth. Wash your face. Let's go fix your hair. Let's go get all your stuff to give you a makeover in life. Yeah. I know he hurt you real bad. I know she broke your heart. But guess what? If you woke up this morning, life is not over. You can choose a new reality. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. You can choose a new reality. Try one more time. I said you can choose a new reality. As a matter of fact, it's happening now. God is offering you a new opportunity. Now it springs forth. Here's the question. Drum roll, please. Shall you not know it? Right. What do you know? Can you recognize it? Can you see it? That's right. That you need to be around the people that will shake the table of your life and say, what you ain't going to do is sit here another time. You ain't going to be here complaining all week, all day. This is what we are not going to do. You got too much life to live. Let me try that one more time. You've got too much life to live. One more time, y'all. You ready? You have got too much life to live. In order you to be sitting up in your in your house crying about stuff that you can't control. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I need you to get a different reference point. I need you to get another reference in life, because guess what? If you are here, God intends for you to make an impact. That there is something that you have to do in the world. And we can't do it you being mealy-mouthed and slowful and all, imprisoned in your comfort zone. No, you get to choose your next reality. And Culture Call, what you going to do about that? What you going to do about your next reality? What you going to do? What moves are you going to make? What moves are you going to make the rest of your life the best of your life? You see what I'm saying? Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I'm just here to encourage you. L is just here. Bishop is just here to encourage you this morning, to tell you, get up off your rusty dusty, dry your eyes, wash your face, get a new hairstyle, get your hair cut, bro. And let's get up and let's get ready to live life. Let's get healed and made whole from all of the trauma. Listen, this is the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3. What a beautiful day it is right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And I got my Culture Call family listening in. Listen, hit me up. I need you to stay here, though. That's right. Stay here, get your little bite to eat, and come right back. Matter of fact, don't even change the station. Stay here and rock it out with us. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call. Listen, it's the top of the hour. 11 a.m. is some change. You know how we do it right here. We're having a beautiful day right here on the Culture Call. Praise 93.3 with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. And I am telling you, we've been having a humdinger of a morning. Do you hear me? We have been having an amazing day talking about reality, establishing a new reality, dealing with your mental health, living in wholeness. Yeah, that's right. You got choices that you can make. And guess what? We're going to help you do our best to help you make them, today on the Culture Call. Why wait till tomorrow? I don't know why to put it off. Listen, life is for now. And so guess what? We're going to help you do your best and making sure that you know what you have to do now. Listen. On this segment, I feature a lot of our community announcements. I start off with that. But today I have a very, very special guest with me. Yes, she is special to me and has been for all of her life. She is my daughter. That's right. And my princess. Yes. The only other woman other than my wife that has me wrapped around her finger. Yeah. And I have her with me this morning because I want her to come and help me. We talk about, we've been talking about Sickle Cell Awareness Month and all of those kinds of things. We talked about all last week. We had the executive director on as well. But I wanted you to kind of meet someone who I know personally that's been overcoming this deplorable disease and how she has made a decision in her life to become whole, even through all of the things that she's gone through. And so, absolutely. And so, yeah. I want you to meet her. She's going to talk to us a little bit and everything. We're just going to have a great, great time. So those of you, call Lottie, Dottie, and everybody, tell them the bishop's daughter is on with him today. Absolutely. And we're about to have a conversation, not just about sickle cell, but also about what we've been talking about this morning is how can we choose wholeness? Yeah, we're healed, but there is still trauma that goes on in our lives. And so you didn't just make it through to survive. You have to now make a decision to thrive. And so I want you all to help me welcome my awesome daughter, Jory, on the air. Hey, sweetheart.
Hi, Dad.
Yes, that's my daughter, my poo. Listen, I am telling you guys, that she is such an amazing young woman. She is an amazing young woman. She's just, and I'm going to let her speak for herself, because I didn't bring her on here so she can hear me talk about her. She has her own voice and she can speak. How you doing, darling? How you doing?
I'm doing great.
How are you? I am doing wonderfully well,
Wonderful.
Yeah, wonderfully well. We've been having a wonderful conversation. But listen, I would be remiss if I did not have an opportunity or provide an opportunity to really talk about during this month of sickle cell awareness and allow, you've been doing that work so many, for years, trying to bring awareness since you found out that you had the disease. I mean, when you were a little baby, you didn't know, but, I think that's a good question to start. When did you first become aware that you had sickle cell? I mean, what was that like for you?
I first became aware, I'd say that the first pain crisis.
Okay.
So the first big hospital visit, I think I was around 7. And so that's when I became aware that something was wrong. I don't think you all had given me a name for it, but yeah, I knew something was different at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was that first pain crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that first pain crisis. And so, I mean, when did you know, or I don't know, I don't want to say take responsibility, but when did you know that life for you would just not be normal, dealing with that? When did you start really thinking about that?
At that very moment. Yeah. At that very moment. I remember that was a 2-week hospital visit.
Yeah.
And so that was the first traumatic event. And I remember going back to school. So I want to say it was around the end of the school year.
Yeah.
It was close to that. And so I remember going back to school after I had started to recover for a couple days. And I don't think I made it a full half day.
Right, you didn't.
I remember you and Mom coming with me.
Right.
And all my classmates asking, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And I remember being so frustrated and just leave me alone. I don't want to explain what I just went through because I don't even know.
Right.
So yeah, that's when I knew something was different.
Yeah, and that difference. How has, we can talk about past, present, and even future. How has that difference shaped your mind, shaped your mentality in terms of how you lived your life? I mean, what was the process? You had to go elementary school, middle school, high school, college, all that. How did that shape the way that you perceived your life in terms of, okay, yeah, I have this, I have that, and how did you navigate with that through all of those phases?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was definitely a journey. I don't think I really shared with people outside of our little bubble.
Yeah.
I don't think I shared that I had sickle cell until I was 18.
Wow.
And so,
So what did your teachers think? What did they think?
Well, they knew, but like y'all would like write notes.
Correct.
Like,
right.
You know,
we
would have doctor's notes and stuff like that. And so they would pull me to the side.
Yeah.
So it was I never talked about it with my school friends or, you know, other teachers or administrators who I knew.
Yeah.
And if they would see me limping or, you know, just sick, you know, they would ask them like, don't worry about it. It's okay. Because it was a lot of shame around it. You know,
not a shame.
So it took me. I had to make the conscious decision before I went off to Spelman, because I knew I had to create community there, to help me, because I wouldn't have you all, right? So I had to make the conscious decision to start sharing, but it took me until 18.
Yeah, because that was part of our angst, and you know. Excited that you were going to Spelman. You know, your granddaddy said it. You know, my dad said it. You need to go to Spelman. Yeah. And I mean, just excited for the opportunity, you know, all of that, what Spelman means, but also Mom and I having that fear of you not being with us. And if we needed you, you needed us, we couldn't get to you quick enough. You know, that was in our mindset. You weren't a part of that conversation, but we would talk about
I felt it too. I was terrified. Because, you know, Mom keeps all the records.
Oh, right.
Every number, everything. So,
you know, making all the appointments.
Exactly.
Making sure you take your medicines and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so, you know, and here's the funny part. And we only felt that with you. We didn't feel that with Jaron. We didn't feel that with Jaron. Shout out to Jaron if he's listening, because he could be listening. But no, we didn't feel that level of overprotection with Jaron. But we definitely felt that with you. And so I can remember, you know, all of the angst of, oh my goodness, she's in a new environment. She's going to be doing this. And, you know, what is this stress is going to be, because, you know, she would pick the number one school to go to with all this rigor and all that. And how is she going to adjust to that and X, Y, Z? And, you know, and so we were really, really, really nervous. And, you know, but you said something about shame. And I find that people who have, you know, those kinds of diseases struggle with shame. What was the shame about? Because, I mean, it wasn't your fault. So what was the shame about?
Sure. I mean, I think as a kid, I think you and Mom did a good job of, informing me of what was going on. But a lot of the complexities and, like, it was just like you two and our team of doctors.
Right.
And so I didn't have a lot of answers. And I just knew, you know, sickle cell affects mostly African Americans in this country. And, you know, in school, that wasn't necessarily my environment.
Right.
So how do I explain what this is with the language that I have?
Yeah.
And they're able to do all these different activities, all of these different sports and all of this stuff. And not that I couldn't, but again, after that first big one, it was traumatic, and so I was very careful about what I did. Yeah,
because that first one we had, that was from DCH to Children's?
That was
the second one.
Yeah, the second big one.
That was the second big one, right? Yeah. Right, and I'm telling you, it was, you know, as a parent, I was like, yo, what, you know, and now I felt guilt. I know Mom and I struggled with guilt because, again, number one, we didn't know about, you know, what was happening. We didn't know how to deal with that complexity. We didn't know how to help you, you know, fully. We were learning as much as we can, researching. And of course, you know, that was the beginning of the internet. So sometimes you can go to our rabbit hole and see all of the worst things that could happen. And so, you know, we were sitting there like, could this happen to her and X, Y, Z? And so, we were just trying to create as best as we could the normal communication, a normal community for you, because, you know, we didn't know we had traits. You know, we didn't know that we could even do that, right? You know, we went from, oh my God, we having twins, to, you know, having these beautiful babies, and then getting a phone call. Because I think we were at the bishop's house when we got the phone call, you know, and you and Mel were like 1, 2, getting ready to go on 2. And here's this call, and I see Honey coming back crying, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on? And she was like, they saying something wrong with my baby. I was like, what in the what? You know, so it was all of that, and we had to work through that. That's why I was trying to figure out, did we make you shameful, or, you know, but I think people who have those kinds of diseases and they have to deal with the public, that kind of public shame. So how did you What was your conversation, if you can remember, with your first friends that you actually told? What was that conversation like? Do you remember that?
I don't. You know what? I remember it was senior year in high school.
Yeah.
And I was at, I think, a meeting because I was in all different kinds of clubs and stuff. So it was probably a meeting for that.
Right.
But my guidance counselor, who knew, and, you know, we conversed about it a lot. Right. I think she prompted us to like go around the room and share something. And I don't know. I just kind of found the courage to share with the people in that room.
Right.
And the support.
Right. Because I was
they didn't understand.
Right.
They didn't totally get it, but they were like, "Oh, okay. Us knowing you all these years,
and we didn't know
makes sense
makes
now."
Sense.
And
right.
so it was more so support, some curiosity, obviously, but mostly support. And I said, okay, well, knowing that I wanted to start sharing a little bit more before I went off to college, it was a comforting start. Yeah,
because I know you did a lot of activism in that area in college when you got to Spelman. You got to meet other sickle warriors, and you know, and so what was that experience at Spelman? What was that like? You know, kind of just coming out of that shell and say, hey, I'm going to be a part. I remember when you called us, I'm going to be a part of XYZ. I'm going to present. Yeah. What was that about? How did that come about, and how did you enjoy it? How did that change how you saw, you know, yourself?
Yeah, it started freshman year. You know, I went off to school. I had brought a friend from church, and so we were in the same dorm, and she, you know, looked out for me and stuff. And so freshman year, I remember, was very rough. I think I had like 3 pain crises in the span of a month. It was rough. So to have that support, and I'm not really sure who connected us, but one of my Morehouse brothers started to make some noise about sickle cell on Morehouse's campus. And he reached out to me and said, hey, I have a spot for you to speak about your journey if you would be willing to do so. Right. And so that was the first public like facing a campus full of people, you know, talking about my journey with sickle cell. And so I think that was sophomore year maybe. And so that was very encouraging. And so I said, well, I like this. I like being able to, one, get this off of my chest, because I've been holding it in for 18, 19 years. Right. But the shift that happened in that room, and the way it touched people who didn't even, you know, who didn't know and were just curious and wanting to, or just knew us and wanted to come support. Now we had this community of people on Spelman and Morehouse's campuses. And so that felt great. And so I was like, I love being able to speak about my journey, and I want to become an advocate for real. Right.
I mean, I think, because your freshman, her freshman roommate was terrible. My God. It was something else. And so, you know, we left her at Spelman thinking like, is this fool going to help our daughter? If anything happened.
She did not.
Sure.
Shout out to Jazz. She was on the second floor. Right. Her and her roommates made sure I was good.
Right, because I was like, oh my God, what in the world? How did we even get here? You know, that roommate situation is something else. And so it started your advocacy journey. And I think what is amazing, Joe, is that sickle cell anemia affects mainly African Americans. And we are the ones that really don't know about it. Like, we are not sharing the information. And, you know, talking to the executive director last week of the local foundation association, she was like, you know, a lot of our people are simply unaware of what's happening. And so she says now, and the law didn't change until in the 1990s, you know, that now, and she says now all of the sickle babies come to her first so that she can connect them. But she was just amazed that when she went into schools and talked to parents, and they were just wondering what was going on with their child, they had no clue. I mean, think about how that's crazy. What is this whole thing about? I mean, why do you think, and you can only do this, why do you think that we just don't know? Why do you think, because, you know, is it because of the black mindset, black people's mindset, oh, well, they just got something wrong with them? You know, just how we throw off sickness like that. What is that about?
I think that is a contributing factor.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that at a national level, it's just not talked about.
Right. Okay.
I know a lot of sickle cell warriors who have been really fighting at that national level to get legislation in place.
Yeah.
To just recognize it as an issue among a certain population within our country.
Right.
And of course, it mainly affects in this country African Americans. So the implications that come with that, I'm sure if it mainly affected other groups, we would have
more,
more awareness by now. So it's a fight, it's a struggle to get it just widely just spread out there.
Right.
So I think that's the main reason. But, within our community, we do have to do a much better job of educating each other and really, in the spirit of creating community, make sure that we really talk about how it affects us personally.
Right.
Because I think I've noticed that people may have a general idea, but unless they hear something personally, that's where it really pierces their hearts. And so that is why I started advocating by way of sharing my personal story, because they can connect. Yeah,
and that's kind of our people. We have to connect to something. Yeah. We have to know somebody that goes through it or whatever. Unfortunately, right. And of course, I understand the underlying racial connotations of, if it had been another group with this kind of issue going on, it would have more national, even international kind of representation awareness. At last, however, it affects Black and brown people mainly, and so there is an underplay in the national conversation, the global conversation concerning sickle cell. And and here's the thing, you have one of the lesser forms in terms of what you can have, because what is it, SC, SS, and thalassemia? What is that? Yeah. That's what it is. Okay, look at me.
So with SC, the type that I have, it's more moderate.
Moderate, right.
So, because I'm not down as much as someone who has full-blown SS. Right. I take it upon myself to do the work that they can't do while they're down.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Because I know someone who has SC, of course, you and Jaron, and then SS, I know someone there, and I do also know someone who has thalassemia. And culture call, it's a horrible blood disease, and as much as you might think it is extremely painful, and but we've got to become aware. Now, you and Jay, y'all a couple of years ago, you all started this foundation called Sick of It.
Yes.
Yeah. Y'all started the Sick of It Foundation because, God placed it on your heart to kind of reach out and provide information. So tell us a little bit about the Sick of It Foundation. And, I know you all are on a hiatus after he graduated, because it was a partnership. Yeah. And so, tell us about what the idea and the intention of the Sick of It Foundation is.
Yes, well, Sick of It is a play on words, thanks to my genius father. I think you started just on social media. It's a play on the sickle cell, and we're just sick of it. And sick of it means, yes, we're sick of the pain and all the complications that come with it, but also the lack of awareness. Yeah. That's what, we were seeing, and it was very frustrating, not just for me and Jaron, but for our whole family.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I don't think people really understand. Yes, it affects the individual, but it really just encompasses the entire family.
Right. No.
And so we started having conversations about what we could do, and I think in 2018 we officially launched. And so our main goal, it started off as just like a social media campaign.
Yeah.
Whenever we would share anything about it, we would just put the hashtag Sick of It, but we wanted to make it something to where we could go out and people would invite us to speak and share our journeys, but also raise awareness because we need blood donors
You're into my next question.
Oh my gosh. Right. We need funds for more research.
Right.
And more awareness so that there can finally be like an official cure. We're working towards it. You know, there have been some treatments that have worked, but it's still a long road ahead. And so that is really what we're all about at Sick of It. And yes, we are currently on a little hiatus, but we're actually making plans to, you know, come back full swinging.
I mean, because again, you know, I'm working closely with the Sickle Cell Association of West Alabama, and you know, we just finished this awesome walk on last week, and you know, using this platform, the Culture Call, the church, everywhere I go, to bring awareness, you know, and to create a connection, because I think it's very important. One of the things that, you know, Mom and I discovered is that, you know, there's not a viable, healthy parental group. There's not. And there needs to be, because, again, as you said, you know, it was a tremendous learning curve for all of us, you know, when we found out about you and then found out about Jaron. It was like, okay, wait a minute. Now, either this is a cruel joke by God or he's given us a tremendous opportunity to do ministry and to provide support for these parents, the parents who you know, are sometimes in shame as well, because they're I mean, let's be real. They're the cause that their children has XYZ, you know, and whatever that, right. So they need the support. And, you know, how valuable has your faith been in terms of overcoming and thriving in life? Because listen, y'all, she thriving. Don't listen to that small voice. She is thriving in life, right? But what was the key? What was the moment that you said, you know, I got to do this. I can't live in the trauma of all of the past experiences, the hospitalizations, all of these things. And you just made a decision to say that every day, no matter what, I'm just going to thrive with whatever God has given me for this day. What was your faith push like? What was that faith press like?
Well, that has also been a journey.
Yeah.
I think, I can't speak for Jaron, but I know for me,
right,
for the longest, I leaned on you and Mom's faith.
Sure.
Because at the time, I'm just walking around here confused about what's going on. And, you know, of course, questioning, like, why? Why me? But I'm not sure. I had a realization, and I do remember there was this pageant that I was in.
Oh, my God.
And I won. But the next year, I had to kind of do my final walk and hand over, you know, the crown and all of that. And that was another big pain crisis for me, and it took a while to recover. And so I remember I was walking out on stage to do my final walk, and I could see Mom, you know, backstage just, you know, waiting for me to, you know, if I needed help.
Right.
But just the perseverance and the triumph that I felt, just personally pushing through that moment, I said, you know what? I can do this. And I realized that while I'm even like physically at my weakest,
right,
mentally somehow I'm at my strongest.
Right.
Like, and that's just how, and I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, but being able to still go to school, you know, and push through even in pain, if it was a, you know, moderate level of pain, I could still push through. And I wasn't, it was, I don't know, it was just a shift in my mind. And so I said, you know, I can do this in life. And I said, you know, God, I'm not really sure what the rest of this journey, because there's a lot of fear about what is to come ahead.
Exactly.
It changes, my body changes, all of that. I'm not sure. But one thing I know for sure is that God has got me. Right. And that, I don't know what clicked for me in that moment, but from then on, I was like, whatever happens, I'm going to be, he's going to take care of me.
And you're going to be fine. Yeah. And you're going to be fine. Yeah. I think that's been the key of, you know, how Mom and I admire you and Jaron, because you all have discovered faith to persevere, nothing bothers Jaron. So, here's the deal. If he had a crisis, we would never know because, that's just always has been him. We've been more hands-on in that area. I know when he calls and says, hey, this is going on, it's very serious for him. But, in your journey, I remember flying out to Dallas because you were going through that crisis, and I'm like, when you were living there, it's just a part of life, and it's you just find a way to thrive. You find a way, one of the things that we had to do is to make sure that you had the best normal life that you could possibly be by your own choice and your own decision. And I think you've done a tremendous job. And so, I think what is important when you talk about awareness and when you talk about the journey and you talk about overcoming the trauma and all of that, what would be your linchpin statement? What would be the statement that you would tell anyone that's suffering from a traumatic situation, whether it be in their body, physically, financially, relationally? How did you get to that trauma, to the place of wholeness?
Okay. Well, first, it is a journey.
Yeah.
Understand that.
Yeah.
Recognize that it is a journey. Some days are going to be better than others.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have to lean into your faith.
Yeah.
Your faith in God, because me personally, I don't know. I can't really explain another way to get through it.
Yeah.
You take it day by day. You find some glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Glimmer of just joy and hold on to that, even if it's second by second.
Right.
Because I've struggled with my mental health and it had nothing to do with sickle cell.
Sure.
But I know for sure
that
on the other side of that, there is joy, there is wholeness, and you fight every day to get to that other side.
Right.
It is a fight.
No doubt.
And as long as you are willing to, because every time I speak about sickle cell, I mention people getting in the ring with us.
That's good.
And that's very important because it is a fight and it's very taxing. And so if you can find a community of people that will have your back and be in the ring with you, no matter what the situation is, you will be okay.
Wow.
You will be okay, but you have to ask for help.
Wow. Man, that is some inspiring words. Listen, this is the Culture Call. I've got my baby with me, my jewelry with me. Listen, I need you to keep it right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3. Got more to come. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call. That's right, with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, on Praise 93.3 FM. That's right, your place for gospel music and community awareness. Absolutely. Listen, we are having an amazing day, and we're almost coming to the end of it. That's right, we're in the latter part of it, but I am glad and grateful to be able to share the airwaves with my daughter, my awesome daughter, Jory, who we've been talking about just her journey through sickle cell and her advocacy and what it means for our community to understand what it really takes to be at the forefront of, making sure that those who are warriors are taken care of. And as we've been discovering even over the years, I think we can do a better job as an African American community in terms of awareness, resources, and not only that, but embrace of the concept of there are those among us who have this debilitating blood disease, but they can live not just as survivors, but as thrivers. We call them warriors, right? Because, it is a fight, and they are winning. And they are winning, but it doesn't negate the fact that they do have some level of obstacles that they do have to face. And so I'm glad and grateful to be able to talk to her about it this morning, because I think it is necessary, it is vital that we have these conversations. Now, Joe, tell me a little bit about currently what you have done recently or what you're doing and planning in terms of advocacy. What can we expect from you and maybe the Sick of It Foundation or some of the things that you're doing, have done recently in order to bring awareness?
Yeah, so I would say in the past couple years. I have done a lot of work with Red Cross. We just did a blood drive 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I'm really pushing that because I don't think people understand the importance of the blood supply. Like, we need it.
Right.
And so I've been doing a lot of work with that. And then also just sharing my journey. I did a partnership with an HBCU campaign last year. We did that, You, Me, and Mom. And so looking to do more of that.
Yeah.
I'm always sharing on social media. I'm always thinking of how to turn on a camera and share my journey that way. Yeah. And so stay tuned. If you guys are interested in me sharing my story, you can reach out. Sick of It Foundation on both Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And, get in contact with me there.
I think that's important, that whole level of advocacy. Let me ask you a question. Maybe we have other viewers from other races who are listening to us. Can Caucasian people donate blood? Can you use that? Or is it just African Americans? Since it's an African American disease, can anybody donate blood through the Red Cross that will help a sickle cell person?
They can, yes. We, blood supply, period, is welcome. However, for sickle cell warriors, African American sickle cell warriors specifically, it is better if we have a supply from other African Americans.
Okay.
And currently, we are very low.
Yeah. I know the executive director was saying that she was getting ready to go do a blood drive at my goodness, on the west side. Everybody has everything there. When I can't, it'll come to me. But yeah, we'll definitely, she was saying that the blood supply is so very low, and I don't know what that's about. I mean, I don't know, maybe we don't like needles. Whatever that is.
I understand that.
Yeah. McDonald Hughes Center. That's where it was. It was at McDonald Hughes Center. I wasn't going to let that go until I remembered. But nonetheless, she was telling us how low the blood supply was from our community. And how she was encouraging us to do a better job at really being a part of those blood drives, because again, you just never know when you're going to need it. You're never going to know. Because I remember your first blood transfusion, that it was just that bad. Yeah. And you needed a blood transfusion. And I'm telling you, by the grace of God, they had the blood there.
That was, that was the Hail Mary move that turned everything around. And so I really want people to understand that. I just connected with a young lady in Texas who needed a blood transfusion, and she was just reaching out is there anybody who can donate blood for her specific blood type? Right. Because the supply is just that low.
Right. So Culture Call, I just want to remind you, as a part of advocacy and just awareness, that yes, when we see blood drives by the Red Cross or whoever is doing the blood drive, we really need to be active in making certain that we supply that blood. And because literally, I know it for a fact, literally the lives of many of our children and young adults and people, period, depend on that blood drive. Yeah, that can be the turning point. Are there any cures? I know there are some that are very expensive. They're still doing more research on it. But what do you know in terms of cures for this?
We do not have an official cure yet. We are working on that. There are lots of different treatments that are, being used, and we're experimenting with that. But there is no cure yet. So that is, if you can't donate blood, we will accept your funds.
Right. Right.
To help with research.
Right. Because research is, I know I had seen something maybe last year or early top of this year talking about, I know it's not blood replacement, so I'm doing that wrong, but it was this whole idea of almost like a transfusion, in terms of you can get normal quote unquote blood, whatever. But they were saying that they're still in research, and there were a few people that got it, but it was really expensive, and their situation was very, very dire. Yeah. In terms of getting that as a broad and mass kind of prescription or prescriptive to being able to eradicate this disease in terms of that. And that research is so very, very important. What would you say to school systems and those? Because I know not just school system. Because here's the question I want to ask. The question I want to ask is, I remember you telling us and you calling us and say, I'm having a difficulty getting pain medicine because I saw the look on your face. Y'all didn't see the look on your face because doctors are like, oh, she's going to use this for drug addiction or whatever. What? Can you educate these people, please?
That is the stigma in hospitals. When we go to the ER and say this is what we are dealing with, yes, they know what sickle cell is. Yeah. They know we need pain, but because there is no outwardly physical proof of us being in pain, it's a lot of, well, what do you need? Do you really need this? And it's a lot of questioning. Right. And we're just like, we are just in a huge amount of pain right now. Right. We need meds. And so they really do think that we are drug seeking most of the time, unfortunately. And that's why advocacy, you need an advocate to partner with you, absolutely. Because when that situation happened, or those situations happen, you got parents that will come up in there, listen, and we will rearrange the entire hospital. Yeah. You know how we go. I was in Dallas at the time, and I was just being questioned. I said, my mom really listen. And I got on that plane, and I'm like, your mom is good, but listen, I don't play about my children at all. I don't care what age, they're still my children. And I walked in that hospital, and everything started turning around right then because I'm like, yo, I'm a well-known pastor, XYZ. I'm not going to be taking off my job just to come up here because she got a drug addiction or she's, all kinds of crazy stuff. That mentality of that's what it is. Thinking that, and I understand the reality of those who are addicted to drugs and pain meds, but that's not our community. Let me say that again. Addiction to painkillers and pain medicine is not the African American community, right? And so, 9 times out of 10, when we say we are in pain because we have high pain toleration, you might need to listen to these people because they can absolutely do nothing with it, and they've got to be able to thrive and survive, while this sickling process is going on through their blood. And if the doctors they know about the disease, but they're doubtful, which is amazing to me. Amazing to me that you're putting them in danger. And so, I'm even if you're a doctor that's listening that's not aware, do your work, do the readings, do the study, find out about sickle cell. We are, black people have an aversion to medical folks anyway. We have a particular fear of them anyway. And rightfully so. Yeah. You're right. Rightfully so. But I'm saying that if we're going to help the sickler, the worst thing you can do is to doubt them when they are in excruciating pain. And I have no clue, no idea. I've been trying to get my daughter and my son to try to explain to me what it feels like, when it's going on. And they've yet to give me any kind of adequate, and which tells me that it is unexplainable pain. And definitely, so if you're a medical provider out there that's listening, listen to the sickle patients when they tell you, because number one, an addict first response is not, I'm a sickle cell patient. They don't even know that. So they don't even know to use that kind of language trying to get meds. Come on, wise up, right? And so I think that's very important. Talk to that young, we got a little bit of time. I got about 3 minutes left. Talk to that young person or, who may be experiencing this sickle cell situation that's looking for a friend, that's looking to get, because you had a long journey, and God has brought you through, you're able to thrive now, talk to them though. It's new to them and they don't know, they're trying to have a life. How do you do that? It starts out very confusing. Yeah. But I think with community work and really, I feel like there should be some system in place that once you find out a child has sickle cell, to immediately connect them and their families with other families who deal with this so that they don't have to go through it alone. Because for maybe the first 13 years of my life, I just thought me and Jaren were the only people on the planet who had sickle cell. Yeah. And that can be a very lonely journey. Sure. But it's not. there's a whole community of people all over this country and all over the world who experience this. And so we just need the right systems in place to connect them. Again, you can reach me on social media. I'm here, you know, and I'm willing to be that mentor, that coach, that whatever, that friend. And we can help each other, even if we're in different places in our journey, and our acceptance of it and all of that. I'm here to help.
You need an advocate and you need a supporter. You definitely need that. Those are two different tools that the sickle warrior needs. And so, yes, absolutely. Hit Jory up. And you can hit me up as a sickle parent and we can talk about it, you know, what you can do to support. It is, as she said, a journey, but I think, you know, if we come together, like you communitize it kind of thing, that then you don't feel isolated and you don't feel like you're some kind of Shrek, you know, some kind of monster who, like you said, you and Jaron are only two. And no, there's a world of people out there that need it. Listen, thank you, Joe. I thank you for hanging out with Daddy today. Thank you for absolutely. Thank you for encouraging our listeners and everything. Listen, if you need to reach her, you can reach her on Facebook. I believe are you on Twitter? Yes.
I am.
And Twitter and Instagram. You can do Jory Smith. I don't think it's Jory Smith though. What is it? Joe Smith?
Yes.
Joe,
on Instagram.
Yeah, Joe Smith on Instagram. And what are you on Twitter?
Probably the same thing.
Okay. JO.SMITH. And on Facebook you are Jory.
Jory Smith.
Right, on Facebook. Right. So she will lead you to all of those things. Absolutely. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you, darling. Daddy loves you so much.
I love you too.
Absolutely. Listen, Culture Call, I see the runway. We're about to land this plane. Listen, go ahead and get hydrated, get your little snack or whatever, and keep it right here on the Culture Call. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
What an amazing show today. I'm telling you, we covered all of the bases. Oh, we tried to anyway. Absolutely. Starting you off with just telling you, yes, there's a difference between healing and wholeness, and we're pushing you toward thriving and not just surviving. I think that's very important that we here at the Culture Call. That's right. Me and my whole team, we are believing in you to not just live, but have the best life that you can. You know, the text says that he's come that we might have life and have it more abundantly. That word abundantly is to the full, a full life, a brilliant life. In other words, you were not created for lack and poverty and strugglesome living all of your life. We live in a system, in a world where men set up principles. I know somebody's like, well, then why God allows us to do that? Because God is a God of free will. Right? And men in charge, because you keep electing people to put you in bondage. You keep agreeing with people who don't see you in that. You know, that's why we have to always continue to struggle in our community, because there are people who control this system, this world that we live in, and how, you know, the ebbs and flows. And yeah, you got to tolerate their policies and all that. But out of sight of that I want you to understand that, yes, you have the opportunity to change your reality, to have a new reality, time, space, matter, and perception. That you are where you are, when you are, why you are, and the question is, how do you see it? Yeah, that's the important question that we were trying to answer today. Definitely. And we pray that we did that. We're going to try another stab at it tomorrow. Listen, and I also want to give a shout out to my beautiful daughter, Jory, for coming up and bringing us, making us aware of the struggle and the victories, the successes of her life as a sickle cell warrior, and what it all means to have advocacy and support, what they need, funding, research that we need in our community, awareness that there are people among us that are suffering from this disease. I want you to make sure that if you know anyone who needs a partner, who needs an advocate, she enjoys doing it. That's part of her, the wheelhouse of her life. That's part of her reality. Yeah. The time, space, and matter, the when, the where, the why, and the what she's designed to do, and how she has decided to see her life as a ministry, as a gift, as a vessel to those who may not have that. Yeah, it's important for them to have that. So I thank God for my beautiful daughter and my son, who are, victoriously living with sickle cell, the sickle cell anemia, and are empowering others that they can do the same. Absolutely. Listen, we've got a wonderful show planned tomorrow, but you don't want to miss that. All of our announcements, we'll get back to that tomorrow. If you didn't hear it today, it's because we just kind of went over a little bit. But nonetheless, I got all of your announcements. Listen, culturecall.praise@gmail.com. Send them right to me. Tag me on Facebook. And go to the Culture Call page and join there. You can even send them there if it's more convenient for you. Listen, as my grandmama and my mama would say at the end of every phone call, I love you a bushel, I love you a peck, and I love you a hug around the neck. This has been the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3. Keep it right here for the best, in gospel music. Until tomorrow, y'all be blessed. Have a great day. Create an impact. And listen, love all that you can. God bless you. Peace.